This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Press conference done here for Chisora-Parker. Just arriving today. Mr. David Haye, how are you, mate?
I'm not bad. I'm looking forward to Saturday night. There's going to be a heavyweight explosion, guaranteed.
So, obviously last time out, you were very confident that Derek could do the job on Alexander Usyk. We know he pushed him all the way. This time round, what's changed for Derek since that loss in October last year?
He's got a boxing coach, Buddy McGirt, who's very experienced, a Hall of Fame trainer. So he's made a lot of adjustments to what Derek does last sort of couple of months. He's really sort of adapted Derek's sort of style to suit his sort of mindset, the way he wants to spar and whatnot. So I think that's it, a new mindset, and the sparring has been all action. You got to look at Arturo Gatti to know that type of all-out gunslinging fight is what Derek's going to be bringing. So I think it's a good coach to bring it out of him.
Eddie Hearn made a valid point in that press conference when he was comparing kind of where they are in their careers. Chisora-Parker obviously wants a shot back at the world title. He's already been world champion, but for Derek, it's not the case for Derek, is it?
No, he's only ever challenged for the world title once against Vitaly Klitschko in 2011 and 12, and he just wants the big fights. Derek isn't someone who dreams about being world champion. He just wants big fights against dangerous opposition, and here he is. He's got a very dangerous guy, young Chisora-Parker, former heavyweight champion of the world, a guy who went 12 rounds with Anthony Joshua, gave him a tough fight. Went 12 rounds with Dillian Whyte and nearly had Dillian out after being heavily knocked down himself. First time I've really seen him badly hurt in a fight. He was able to get back to his feet and rally home into the later round of championship rounds and nearly got Dillian Whyte out of there. I think Dillian was really happy to hear that final bell. Obviously, Dillian won the fight clearly on points, even with that knockdown in the last round, but shows the pedigree of Chisora-Parker, beating Andy Ruiz Jr. the first time, taking away his unbeaten record when he won the vacant WBO heavyweight title. So Derek knows he's up against it. He knows he's under no illusions that Parker's a favourite for a reason. He's only ever lost 2 fights. Derek's lost 10. 1 in every 4 of Derek's fights he's lost. So Derek knows what he needs to do, and what he needs to do is put Chisora-Parker under immense pressure he's never been under before. He's fought pressure fighters in the past, Carlos Takam and Andy Ruiz Jr., and was able to make it a boxing match with these tough come-forward fighters. Derek can't afford to get into a boxing match, not even for 2 rounds with Parker, because Parker has a very, very dangerous right hand and a very, very dangerous right uppercut. And those 2 shots are, in my opinion, his money punches, and he'll be looking to time Derek coming in with that uppercut and right hand. And Derek's got to make sure that he's very aware of what's coming at him whilst putting the pressure on him. He's putting pressure and he's putting educated pressure. It has to be educated pressure, and Derek could cause one of the massive upset in the heavyweight division, and it's just going to be. I know there will be a knockout in this fight. This fight is not going the distance. It's not a 12-round type of fight. Derek hasn't, for once, talked about points, winning rounds. No, it's just he's got to drag him into the deep end. He's brought in guys like Daniel Dubois and sparring. He's bringing young, hungry guys, and they've just been going at it. It's been blood and guts in the gym every time, and so he's preparing himself for a hard battle. In his mind, he knows he's not going to go in there. It's not going to be an easy night's work, no matter how it goes for him. It's going to be hard graft, hard grind, and he's been putting it in. It's been some very, very tough, the toughest rounds I've seen him spar since I've been working for the last couple of years. So hopefully that toughens him up to go out there and do the impossible.
What do you think about Chisora-Parker's decision to link up with Andy Lee, and obviously through Tyson Fury? He obviously spent some time, he said, in Dublin, but also in Morecambe. So, that's kind of becoming a little close-knit team with the Furies and Parker. What do you think of that whole link up there? involving Andy Lee obviously as well.
It's a winning team, obviously. You know, you see what they've done with Fury, and he's looked better than he's ever looked before. You know, they've obviously they know what they're doing. You know, Andy Lee, I know him. We both worked together in the past very closely, and he's very smart man. Understands what works and what doesn't work. He's been a world champion at the highest level. He was a sharpshooter himself, a long-range southpaw sharpshooter. So in terms of keeping distance and punishing people as they get into distance, you know, he was one of the best at doing that. So I'm sure he'll be imparting a lot of wisdom to Chisora-Parker. You know, Chisora-Parker had Kevin Berry, his old coach. They've worked together for probably 8 years or so for his whole professional career. So sometimes a change is good. Sometimes you need to sort of freshen things up. You know, not that there was anything wrong with Berry. Maybe it's just a change. Sometimes a change is nice. Change of scenery, change of atmosphere, it's a different face telling you something different. And I'm expecting, you know, the very best Parker. And you know, the Parker that turned up for, I don't know, Carlos Takam, for instance, was a very good Parker. A Parker that's very, very difficult to beat. He was there for 12 rounds, stayed on his toes, let big punches fly, and you have to give Parker a lot of respect. When he's in the past, when he's come over to the UK, he's worked out of my gym, so I've seen him up close and personal many, many, many times. Watched him sparring. He's a real deal. So I've said before we signed this fight, Derek, I said to him, you're going to need whatever you did for the Usyk fight, which was a great spirited effort, which on points you lost. I thought you won, but it's down to the judges. You have to be better than that. That performance against Usyk won't be good enough to hear the final bell against Chisora-Parker. So you're gonna however much heat you brought in that fight, we're gonna need to turn it up, and here we are.
This fight was obviously meant to have taken place in October of 2019. Year and a half to 2 years ago. Who does it benefit that there has been a delay in this fight happening? Does it benefit Derek or does it benefit Joseph?
I don't think it benefits either of them. I think they were both in different stages of their career back then. You know, Derek hadn't had the momentum that he's had. You know, he was trained by someone else. Their whole setup was very different back then for Derek, and it's taken him a little while to sort of get into the professionalism of being a real athlete, where you're watching what you're eating and you're sleeping and training, putting in the sessions in. So I definitely feel his chances of victory are better now than they were back then. You know, after obviously he did a good 12-round fight in his last fight against Alexander Usyk, I definitely feel he'll be more prepared after that for another big fight. You know, obviously fighting behind closed doors then will be the same case on Saturday night. So it's just, I think he'll be the best he can be on Saturday night, and you know, I expect Chisora-Parker to be the same.
Saturday night, stacked card, and we'll look forward to it. Obviously no fans here, but as always, just press the red button. Do you still press the red button to get box office events? I hope I haven't got that wrong information, but just do it anyway.
You'll figure it out sooner or later. Just go to the button, follow the instructions, Sky box office Saturday night.
David, there was a couple of other things, as I always like to speak to you about. I do want to ask you about, I don't know where this come from, so my knowledge about this is pretty vague, but were there some comments that you made about Tyson Fury when you were meant to have had that fight, you've stated what would have happened? Have you made them comments recently? Because it seems to have been blown up. I had a lot of people messaging me and tweeting me saying, find out about Haye's comments on that Fury fight that never happened.
So if I wouldn't have got cut before the fight against Tyson Fury, do I think I would have won the fight if I wouldn't have cut and got in the fight?
I think these are the comments that,
I believe I would have won the fight if I would have got in the ring, but I didn't, so we'll never know now. I'm sure Tyson would feel very differently, but you know, I wouldn't have got in the ring if I would never get in the ring if I didn't believe I could win a fight. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that's all you said then, because the way it was like I was being messaged about it and tweeted about it is almost like you'd said something outrageous, but of course you're going to...
Yeah, what should I say? Okay, if I would have got in the ring, I would have got knocked out in one round. No, I wouldn't. No, I trained real hard for the fight, probably one of the hardest camps I've ever had. I've got all the sparring footage. I trained real hard. I was in great shape. I had some great sparring partners, and unfortunately, I think Filip Hrgović in the last spar before, he hit me with a shot and cut my eye, and the fight never happened. But one thing I do know is the Tyson Fury I would have fought in 2013 would have been significantly easier to beat than the 2021 version of him now, because he has grown as a human being, as a man. He's so much more well-rounded now, and it'd have been significantly easier then than it would have been to do it now. So.
Okay, fair enough. I thought there might have been more to this, but there wasn't.
Spice to it,
No, but I don't know what
you.
people, like you said, expect you to say. What you meant to say? Anything different?
I always thought, you know, a lot more back then. Obviously, watching the fact that the fight before mine, he struggled with Steve Cunningham, who was a cruiserweight, a small cruiserweight, who had a very low knockout ratio. So he wasn't a puncher, and he was heavily decked and couldn't quite get to grips with the smaller guy moving around. Well, I'm a smaller guy, move around, but I punch really hard. You know, so if he was getting knocked out by guys like that, in my mind, I'm going to land lots of the shots that knocked him down. And, you know, but it never happened, so I'll never know. If we had a time machine, I'd love to go back there and not have that final spar so I can get in the ring and work it out, but it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
I think over the last 10 years, if there was one fight between two British fighters that we were, as fight fans, robbed and gutted never to see, obviously no fault of anyone's, it's just one of those things that happen to you, but that would be one of them, that the heavyweight British public were robbed of that fight.
Yes, it would have been a great fight. I know what I think I would have done, and I'm pretty sure he knows what he think would have done, but we'll never know unless one day, you know, I start going out running again and.
Excuse me?
Don't start.
Okay.
Unfinished business. No.
I tell you what, in today's day and age, it genuinely wouldn't surprise me.
I'll make some phone calls to see what's happening.
No amount of money, I know you don't need any money, but no amount of money would tempt you to put your body through that again?
I think Anthony Joshua is the fight that everybody wants to see Tyson Fury have. And that has to be the next fight. That really does. As a fight fan, as a sports fan, that is the fight that everybody has to see. Whether you're MMA, kickboxing, whatever you're into, you have to see these two Goliaths, these two amazing specimens go at it. Complete contrast in personalities, contrast in styles. It's a magical fight that. I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether it's installed. I'm hearing all these things on the news and the press, but I really, really hope the boxing gods agree that it happens real soon. This summer would be absolutely perfect, and, you know. But fingers crossed.
Yes, that's the fight aside. But we just seem to be getting these updates quite regularly now that kind of tell us a little bit and nothing at the same time. So the man to your right there is obviously partly responsible for all this information that's coming out, but really, ultimately, we just want to hear when it's at, where it's at, and that's it, really.
So if it doesn't happen, it means one side doesn't want it. I know when I had to, in my mind, I had to fight Vladimir Klitschko. You know, I had a title, he had titles. I wanted to unify, so we both wanted to unify. So we made the fight happen. Obviously, some back and forth, but we both wanted it. He wanted it, so we came to an agreement and made the fight happen. And that was it. So it's not that complicated. Genuinely, it's not that complicated. People think it is.
It is and it ain't, surely.
But if everybody wants it genuinely and everyone's being fair, that's the other thing as well. If it's fair and everyone agrees what the split is, you've got television networks, different territories, it can be worked out. If it worked out with Tyson and Lennox Lewis, and it worked out with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, it can work out with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
He says that the fight ain't even happening. He's confident
he's
the fight.
wrong. I really hope you're wrong, Derek.
You're saying that AJ Fury fight.
I really hope you're wrong. But you're saying you don't think